Houston Rockets, I gave a teetering C plus B minus. Only two real moves that they've made is AJ Griffin joining on a via 3-team trade. I like AJ Griffin. He's a developmental prospect that in his rookie year averaged 8.9 points per game on 39% 3-point percentage in his rookie year. So I like that, but also what they acquired is Nikola Jursic while trading away the draft rights for Peel Larson on draft night itself. So I like Nikola, especially in the second round, getting that value plus AJ Griffin on top of that. I think they won that trade. And then Aaron Holiday returning on a 2-year, $5 million deal per year. So 2-year, $10 million deal overall. Rotational guard depth, continue to play off the bench on a team-friendly deal for him. 6.6 points per game, 38.7 3-point percentage. It's a good guard to bring in to go ahead and back up whoever's going to end up starting, actually. I know that Jalen Green is their de facto starting shooting guard, so I'm not sure who else is going to be starting out there, but Aaron should be coming off the bench. And once again, I'm going to go ahead and give them a C+. Teetering on the B- because I do like the AJ Griffin thing. You got him for a little bit, but for a discount because he ended up being a little bit injury prone. Are you in the same boat for Houston, or what do you got for Houston?
Houston is a C- for me, just because I believe Houston is big game hunting from what I've heard and what they're trying to do, and so they have cleared the runway, so to speak. It depends on which one of their young pieces they're willing to part with, but
yeah,
I think Houston's going to be a team that we're going to hear about this offseason, this trade deadline, next offseason, next trade deadline. That's going to be because their head coach, you're familiar. He's not over there for a rebuild. You know what I mean? He's not. When you go from the head coach of the Celtics and now you're the head coach of the Rockets, he's not there to rebuild that team over the next 3 to 4 years. So I don't know. I really like Sengun. I really like him as a ball player, and he seems to be the piece that they've dangled a little bit. And that to me that's a big swing. But I think they're just going to be involved.
What do you think that their next course of action is? Because right now the roster looks like this. It looks like Fred VanVleet, who's getting paid a lot of goddamn money. Jalen Green, who shows incredible promise, especially at the end of last year, just went insane and almost brought them into the play-in. Dylan Brooks, who improved last year after signing a big contract. Jabari Smith Jr. and Alperen Sengun. Also on the bench, you have Reed Shepard, just drafted this year. Amen Thompson, who looks to be maybe could develop into one of the better two-way players in the league. You also have Steven Adams, who's going to come back after being injured all last year. Cam Whitmore, Aaron Holiday. I mean, it's a pretty good team. Where do you go from here? Like, what's the next piece? You have a really good shooting guard and a really good center, good rotational depth pieces around them. Do you develop those guys, or what position are you grabbing? Or if you have a name, who are you grabbing for this team?
Well, I think the team the piece they ultimately grab hasn't been made available yet. There's always that player, but this team is also like Denver Nuggets light. Sengun's never going to be Jokic. I get it, but they have the pieces there. They're super young. They might develop depending on how good he gets. Is how well they're going to develop. As you mentioned, I mean, Jabari Smith is still like what's he going to be in the league? Those young big men, they take a couple of years to develop. And so to have a team that's developing, made a push last year, didn't make it, should be better this year just due to young talent developing and still being in the market. Yeah, still being in the market to make a big swing. I really like where the Rockets are set up as a franchise right now because you have a young, exciting roster. Your fans are going to want to watch this team. And you're also involved in every trade rumor, every big swing out there. They're talking about it. They're trying to make a piece. Now, that can get old, as Celtics fans and Kings fans know. Being constantly linked to every big name out there is frustrating because you never land it. But it's better than being the Charlotte Hornets. So
true.
It's better than being the Detroit Pistons. I mean, you want the Detroit Pistons that have Cade, or do you want do you want to be the Houston Rockets? I'd be the Houston Rockets 1,000 out of 1,000.
Who are you willing to part with if, let's say, because obviously Kevin Durant is a huge name linked to them. who are you willing to part with on this team, young player wise, to be able to grab a player like KD?
I would move any of those players on that team for KD, assuming it's not outrageous, except for the one player, Sengun, that's been mentioned for KD. I think he's a foundation piece for your franchise moving forward. But to me, at this point, KD doesn't really move the needle for me. I know he's one of the greatest of all time. He's one of the best scorers of all time. But the dude, well, why is KD on the Rockets going to turn their fortunes around when Devin Booker, KD, and Bradley Beal couldn't turn around the Phoenix Suns? I don't. KD to me, I'm tired of talking about Kevin Durant. I'm tired of talking about Paul George. I'm tired of like these are the stars of yesteryear. Paul George is like 34. They just signed him to a contract. What's that dude going to be in 2 years? I don't think he's going to be Paul George anymore.
Probably not.
Clippers are a whole nother. We're almost there. I'm excited to sound off on them also, but there's a young talent out there that's going to come up for grabs soon. I don't exactly know who that is. I'm tired of hearing about Jimmy Butler. Like, come on, Jimmy Butler's not changing your franchise around. It doesn't do anything for me if the Houston Rockets trade for Jimmy Butler. I want to hear the smoke that, Minnesota plays terribly this year and Ant wants out. You know what I mean? That changes things. That changes things for the Rockets. I want to hear the smoke that Michael Porter Jr. averages 27 points a night this year and he wants out. The next phase of this league that's coming into, Jaylen Brown wants to be out from underneath Tatum's shadow. That type of thing. That's what I'm interested in. What comes next for the Rockets? Not Kevin Durant, not John Wall, not Bradley Beal.
Well,
maybe Steph, trade for Steph, but like I said, they won't do that.
Yeah.
And if they did, I would come on this podcast and hammer them for trading Steph because he's your legend, he's your Tim Duncan. But that's what they should